Right, let's take a look firstly at the fuck off. Good day, 'tis I, Lord Pendlebury, and the camera is not working. For fuck's sake. Honestly, OBS, I mean, you can't complain too much. It's a free bit of software, but the amount of fucking issues I have with cameras on this is outrageous. But yes, hello and welcome to Evolution Sim Racing. Do you want to come and get involved? Are you a member of iRacing? Please do. There's some reasons down here why we're a very attractive proposition to you. And then you can visit the website down here. Evolution Sim Racing. How many, I mean, it's years, I guess, now that I've been doing this, and I still can't quite fathom where I need to point, because it's obviously in a reverse, because in the stream that I'm saying. Anyway, this is boring, so let's crack on with this week's highlights. It was round 17 and 18, and we were in the GT4s at Bathurst, a tricky proposition, so let's see how we all got on. Well, hello then, and welcome to Mount Panorama, also known as Bathurst, also known as a place in Australia. And well, let's bring up some of that race information then to see what it's all about. Well, looks like a bent out of shape vape, but yes, we are round 17, Bathurst, in the GT4s. It's surely going to be a tricky old challenge for our drivers this time round. Now, unsurprisingly, there was qualification before. Oh, what happened to the camera? I don't know, who cares. There was qualifying occurred prior to the start of this race. Dan Slattery, he took pole position by just over 0.3 of a second to Will Thomas in second place. Jeff Sharp was then in third place. I feel like he's been in third place a lot in qualifying this season, but I don't have the stats to back that up. And then it's Lord Pendlebury alongside him in fourth. Steve Moore was then in fifth. The AM category pole position was taken by Chris Palmer. Anthony Marriott was in second with Brian Dodd in third. Axel Edwards in fourth. Championship leader Chris Hulse not racing tonight. Jamie Nicholson was then in sixth place for the pro category. Now, let's get down trackside and see how things all shook out. Well, here they come over the hill. A bit more of a hill than it appears when you drive it. Round that last bend they go. A smaller grid than we're used to here at Evolution Sim Racing, but let's see how the racing goes. That is a cracking start from Dan Slattery. Jeff Sharp already alongside Will Thomas. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. Rubbing his racing and all that. Got a good old representation of cars out there. Despite the small grid, we've got McLarens, the Mercedes, the Aston Martin, the BMW. And that is by far and away most of the GT4s, if not all of them. I feel like I am missing one there, but frankly, who cares? Oh, big crash at the back. That is absolutely huge. Well, that's Steve Moore. He's had to retire to the pits. Chris Palmer is utterly fucked. That car is all sorts of wrong. We will have to go back and take a look and see what happened. Taking a look back with the leaders, that is Will Thomas in pursuit of Dan Slattery. Dan Slattery is already up the road. Bouncing down the curbs. All about finding a rhythm this track. And if you get out of that rhythm, well, it can all go wrong. Oh, Will Thomas. The rear end steps out as he comes down Forest's elbow. Jeff Sharp looking at making a move then on the Conrod straight. Side by side, they will jink to the right imminently. Heading into the braking zone. Will Thomas has the inside line. Pendlebury looking interested as well. Sharp looking to hang in there and get the move done as the road comes to him. Pendlebury is now the one that is up the inside of Sharp. That's gone wrong potentially for Sharp. But he seems to carry better momentum than Pendlebury, and he does, and it looks like they have got around there all unscathed, but that has allowed Dan Slattery to escape up the road, and that is a good opportunity for me to bring up the race information, and he is 3.2 seconds after the first lap, leading the way. That is well, quite the lead indeed. Well, this is what happened then with Chris Palmer and Simon Moo, and a bit of an unfortunate coming together. I checked another camera angle as well. A little bit of netcode was involved. Not a huge amount, but just a bit of a coming together. Well, we won't take another look at it. I think that's kind of conclusive. Well, there is our leader then in the pro category. That is Dan Slattery. Heading down the hill through the S's, the Dipper, and the like. I'm definitely not just reading off of the track map in front of me. But he's leading the way. We then have Will Thomas, Jeff Sharp, and Lord Pendlebury all chasing down after Slattery. But I have to say, Slattery is still opening that gap. Jamie Nicholson, there he is. He is 3.7 seconds off the back of Pendlebury. And then Steve Moore, he is back out on track in 6th place, but a lap down. I'll tell you what, good old Simon Moo has, unfortunately, his luck this season does seem to be pretty poor. I wish him all the best for next season, which feels like a bit of an odd thing to say, but we'll crack on with it. In the AM category, that is Brian Dodd in the number 11 BMW. He has got Axel Edwards just 0.8 of a second back from him. It's then 27 seconds to Anthony Marriott. Here he is. And then Chris Palmer's a further 13 seconds. He had to get back into the pits for repairs. Oh, that is Jeff Sharp into the barriers. Pendlebury nowhere to go. Jeff Sharp will really stop at nothing to try and take Pendlebury out, even when he's behind him. And that front end of Pendlebury's Mercedes is looking pretty awful. And we've just coming up on the information. Axel Edwards has crashed. Looks like he's had an incident up at Skyline. Well, this is what happened to Jeff Sharp then. Oh, clobbers that inside barrier, round he goes, and, well, Pendlebury had no idea. If anything, the charitable chap that Lord Pendlebury is just nudged him back in line and really took one for Team 19 Racing there. Well, this is what happened to Axel Edwards. Oh, and he really gets it wrong in Skyline. And no recovering that. A very unforgiving part of the track. Well, Chris Palmer has made a move on Anthony Marriott there. I think Anthony Marriott has had a bit of an issue, and you can see there his straight line speed is looking pretty poor. Now, how's Pendlebury's run as they come through Forest's Elbow? It's not bad. And he is just 0.3 of a second back from Sharp. Will this afford him a run? It's not closing quickly, but the momentum will start to build now as the speed increases. Pulls to the inside. Oh, he's done it again! Sharp just turns in on him. He's like, fuck you, Pendlebury, you're not getting past me. Absolutely outrageous stuff from the single monitored fiend. Well, taking a look then at that attempted murder from Jeff Sharp. Just Penderbury shows his nose on the inside, earned the right to some space, but no you fucking don't, says Sharp. Closes the door. Well, we are over half distance at this point. Oh, and Pendlebury has run slightly wide there, and he's clobbered the barriers slightly. And Jamie Nicholson was getting awfully interested. Oh, sounds like someone's clipped a barrier there. But anyway, we are at over past that time for everybody's second favourite game. So let's take a look at the big winners and losers of this one then. And, well, I mean, it's not hugely exciting. Biggest winner in pro is up one position, Jamie Nicholson, and the biggest loser is down one position, Steve Moore. We then have Brian Dodd. He's the biggest winner in the AM category, and shared ownership of the biggest loser title is from Palmer and Marriott. And I tell you what, Brian Dodd has got an excellent lead. And tell you what, Jamie Nicholson looking to pull off an outrageous move down the hill here. Can he get this done? Looking to go all the way around the outside. Oh, he has to get out of it a bit. The barrier just came towards him. He's not going to end his challenge there, though. A steam down the hill, and look at that, you can see that gap closing. What can Jamie Nicholson do? Pulls out from the draft as they jink to the right, and he's later on the brakes than Pendlebury, and he gets the move done around the outside. Very nicely done, Jamie Nicholson. And that puts him up into fourth position, but that scrapping between Pendlebury and Nicholson has meant that Jeff Sharp now has a 2.5 second lead over these two. Oh, Pendlebury's close behind there. Will he look at coming back at Jamie Nicholson? Decides against it. But yes, as I was saying, let's take stock of where we are now. Dan Slattery, here he is leading the way as he heads back up the hill. But that gap between him and Will Thomas, who you can see there in the background, has been slowly coming down. It was at about 3.6 seconds. It's now at 2.5 seconds with 8.5 minutes to go. That gap could continue coming down. Will Thomas be able to close in quickly enough, though? We will see. Jeff Sharp is then in third place. Relatively safe third place now at the moment, following Nicholson and Pendlebury's battles, who are the following two positions. Steve Moore, unfortunately, he's a minute and 13 seconds back behind. We saw him getting caught up in that lap one drama. In the AM category, here is our race leader. That is Brian Dodd. He is about to head up the hill, and he is leading the way by over 27 seconds. That is fantastic stuff. He will no doubt be looking to convert this into a win. Just needs to keep it nice and tidy. It then is Chris Palmer. Oh, he keep it nice and tidy. He's clipped the barriers there. Doesn't look like it's done too much damage, though. Chris Palmer, he is in second place with Anthony Marriott, then a minute and 10 back. In third, I assume Anthony Marriott has come in to repair his vehicles. In fact, we can verify that. Let's just have a quick look and see if there's been any stops. And yeah, Anthony Marriott's gone for the bold two-stop strategy by the looks of things. In fact, everyone other than Brian Dodd has made a stop in that AM category. Oh, and that is someone who has gone round. Who is that stopped? That's Anthony Marriott, and well, he's recovered to the pit lane. And well, spot the difference on those two cars, isn't it? Other than the colour. That's looks like pretty much identical damage on both of them. But that is Anthony Marriott. He's in the pits. It won't make any difference to his result. He will still finish in third because Axel Edwards has retired and is 5 laps down. But yes, Steve Moore has also had a crash, and they had that crash. I wonder if there was something, they were involved with each other, because there was only 0.2 of a second between the incident logs there. So yeah, who knows? We'll find out. Dan Slattery has responded though to Will Thomas's attack on or attempted attack on his lead. by setting the fastest lap of the race, and he has started opening that gap up a little bit more, and I think Will Thomas has made a mistake there because that's jumped up by another 0.4 of a second. Hard work unravelling slightly. Well, it turns out that the Steve Moore-Anthony Marriott incidents were completely separate despite happening at exactly the same time, and that is what happened to Steve Moore. Just lost it on the exit of the corner. And this is what happened to Anthony Marriott going through Skyline. Had already had an incident earlier in the race here and just loses it, and around he goes. Bumper lazily falls off. Well, the gap is now just 0.7 of a second as they plummet back down the hill. Jamie Nicholson will be attempting to get close enough so he's got the draft down at the long straight, or the long Conrad straight. Doesn't get a bad exit, but 0.8 of a second could be tricky to close in the amount of time, despite it being a very long straight. Let's watch that gap as it closes. And I don't think it's going to be enough, unfortunately, for Jamie Nicholson. Got over to Dan Slattery as he comes down to the final turn. Has ended up being in a little bit of a class of his own in this race. Will Thomas was closing in, but he has firmly quashed that. Oh, so I've got a child desperately trying to yank the microphone stand over. Jamie Nicholson right on the back of Jeff Sharp there, but can't get it done as they cross the line. Will Thomas was in second. Well, here Brian Dodd comes rounding the final turn, and he claims victory in the AM category. Chris Palmer, he is 12.6 seconds back. Had been whittling away that lead down, but it was always going to be an incredibly tall order. Brian Dodd manages the race well and takes first place. Alright, let's take a look at the race results then. So, in the AM category, Brian Dodd... Oh, blimey, we are zipping across the landscape here, but Brian Dodd takes the win. Chris Palmer is then in second place with Anthony Marriott in third. Axel Edwards was then in fourth, 10 laps down. Anthony Marriott was also 4 laps down. Then in the Pro category, Dan Slattery, as we saw, took the win from Will Thomas 5 seconds back. Jeff Sharp was then a further nearly 11 seconds back. Jamie Nicholson was then in fourth place. The wounded Lord Pendlebury was then in fifth, with Steve Moore a lap down in sixth. We will take our usual about 2-second break and then be right back with the highlights of the feature race. Hello then, and welcome back to Evolution Sim Racing. We are about to partake in round 18. It is the feature race from Bathurst in the GT4's 45 minutes mandatory pit stop. Tyres unlikely to be taken, but fuel will certainly be required. Now it's time for everybody's favourite game. Let's get down and play Guess That Livery. And we have got 2 people missing from the feature that were in the sprint race, but I'm fucked if I can remember who it was. Nope, whoever you two are, clearly not important enough in my life. Right then. So, that'll be Will Thomas. No, it won't. That'll be Steve Moore. He leads the way in the Pro category with Will Thomas alongside him. But then have Jamie Nicholson with Jeff Sharp and that dodgy-looking graffiti on the side of his car in fourth. It's then Lord Pendlebury and Dan Slattery. So that's 6 in the Pro class. And then we have Brian Dodd in the number 11 BMW and Chris Palmer in the number 133 Cookie Monster Aston Martin. God, I nailed that. That's the first time that's happened in a long time, but yeah. Right, let's crack on with the feature race highlights. Well, I remembered it was Anthony Marriott and Axel Edwards who have not come back for this feature race. And they've all bunched up a bit. Simon Moo has now gone. but it looked like a bit of a messy start. Will Thomas has very much plucked the lead there from Moo. Jamie Nicholson running a little bit wide. Charging now towards the base of the hill. I've forgotten to get my track map back up, so I can't remember the names of the corners. We just need to get Dan Slattery on co-commentary, just purely for his corner name knowledge. It is fantastic. Looks like they're side by side a little bit further back. That is Pendlebury on the outside of Moo. Yes, the child is very excited by his daddy making that pass. That is up into 4th position then for Pendlebury. That was an unfortunate start, and it looks like Moo has got a little bit of damage on his rear end. Looks like the back of his car is sneering a bit. Oh, that is somebody out wide. It was me. It was me. Oh, dealing with this baby simultaneously is not helping the cause. Slattery right on the back of Moore here. Sorry, Moo. Oh, takes a look up the inside. It's a cheeky little attempt. And Moore goes wide. Oh no, and that's Chris Palmer around and into the barriers. He has not had the best of luck on this evening. And, well, yeah, always clips the barriers. His steering's all gone a bit wonky. And this is Dan Slattery. He is alongside Pendlebury. Pendlebury got a bit of a slowdown somehow, somewhere. Oh, yeah, that would have been from running out wide, because obviously you gain time doing that. Pendlebury looks to hang it around the outside. Ooh. Not quite a full car's width there, but he makes it work. Oh. As looks the inside, but Slattery makes the move stick. Right then, a little bit of information for you. For some reason, the overlays fucked themselves, so ignore that timer in the top left-hand corner. That's completely redundant. We're probably about 7 or 8 minutes into this one. Well, let's take a look at how things stand. Well, that is Will Thomas, and he leads the way as he dives down the hill. He's got Jeff Sharp 1.1 seconds back. There he is. Jamie Nicholson's then in 3rd with Slattery behind him, and then Pendlebury behind him. Steve Moore then brings up the rear of the Pro Class. We then have Brian Dodd leading the way on course for a double win this evening, because Chris Palmer, we obviously saw, he got caught up in some trouble. He is now pitted and is now looking a damn sight healthier, but he's got a 47.5 second gap to Brian Dodd that he's got to try and close down over the next 35 minutes or so, so we'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. But apologies if there's not a huge amount of action from the AM category. There's only 2 of them that have returned for this one, and yes, they are 3/4 of a minute apart. Well, Slattery has been closing this gap down. Going down the Conroe Straight, is he close enough to make a move? Oh, he's very close. Oh, that's very close under braking. Barely get a cigarette paper between them. But the interesting thing here is they have all been closing up on Will Thomas slowly. Jeff Sharp has been slowly closing that gap where he can. Nicholson's closing up on Sharp. Slattery has been closing up on Nicholson, and Pendlebury is kind of starting to close up on them as well. So this could become an exciting battle at some point in the future. We'll probably cut straight to that, and I'll just sit through it. Well, it looks like Slattery is closer this time round. He will surely be looking at making an attempt once they get to the heavy braking zone for the next turn. Throws it up the inside. And, oh, there's contact. Both of them out into the grass. That is excellent stuff for Pendlebury. He plucks that last step on the podium from them both. And, well, status quo, other than losing a position to Pendlebury for both of them. Slattery behind Nicholson. We will take a look at that replay and unpack what went on. Well, in the AM category, I'm not sure what's gone on here, but Brian Dodd is in the pits and he's taking tyres. I don't think taking tyres is advisable. It doesn't look like he's had an accident or anything, but he is still in there getting his tyres changed. Chris Palmer has inherited the lead. We'll see how that all shakes out. Oh, that is Will Thomas into the barriers. And Jeff Sharp now right on top of him. Question is, how much damage is Will Thomas now carrying? We'll see here. The gap is currently 0.6 of a second. Will Thomas flashing his lights, presumably for the crowd, because there's nobody ahead of him. But you can see the amount of damage on that front left. And by the end of the straight, Sharp has closed in by 0.3 of a second. And he is all over him, so definitely looks like performance is being impacted. And Will Thomas, unsurprisingly so, peels into the pit lane. Tricky little pit entry here. Manages to handle it all okay, though. Oh, and that is Simon Moo into the barriers. Not been a good evening for him. Coming across now to our leader in the pro class, that is Jeff Sharp. That gap between him and Pendlebury has gone up by about 0.3 of a second. We'll make use of that very handy time delta. Was it time delta? Let's see. Is it time delta? Yeah, bottom right hand corner. Well, yeah, you can see there. The gap over the last 5 laps has changed. Oh, well, that's not useful. Oh, Pendlebury into the pits. Question really is, where is Will Thomas in all of this? Well, there is Will Thomas. Will he be coming out in front of or behind Jeff Sharp? Where's Jeff Sharp? Well, he's still stopped in the pit, so Will Thomas is very much going to be coming out ahead. Pendlebury only just leaving the pits now as well. Looks like he's lost some time in that cycle. Jeff Sharp will lose time to Will Thomas all the way down this straight, which means the gap has been increased. Will Thomas been pumping in some good times. Well then, Chris Palmer is now in the pits. There he is. And the question is, where is Brian Dodd? There is Brian Dodd. Take a look at that old track map. When does Palmer start moving? Palmer has started moving. That is him on the pit exit. And Brian Dodd on the main straight, which means Chris Palmer will continue in the lead of this one to the tune of 11.5 seconds. Oh, that is Will Thomas, our pro race leader. He goes round, and he's going to have to wait for Jeff Sharp to go through, and manages to get it spun round. Is Pendlebury going to be able to get past as well? It looks like he is. Looking on the outside. And there is confirmation. Pendlebury now up into second place. I wonder if Will Thomas has picked up some damage. An error that has cost him a certain win. He was 6 seconds ahead of Sharp. Sharp is now 6.2 seconds ahead of Pendlebury. So in theory, a cruise to the end, but it's never as simple as that at Bathurst. Question is, will Will Thomas have the pace to get back past Pendlebury, or will Pendlebury be able to hold him off? Oh, that's Will Thomas into the barriers. Oh, and that's Dan Slattery. Caught up in it as well. Well, how are they going to sort this one out? Oh, Brian Dodd's got to avoid it. Oh, Slattery reverses straight into the barriers, and that is Will Thomas back to the pits. Slattery, somehow, out of all of that, has managed to pick up a position from Will Thomas, but positions very much looking done and dusted now. Slattery's got a bruised rear end there. That Sharp has lost about a second to Pendlebury over the last 3 laps or so, but that will be not a care to him because, well, yeah, frankly, oh, and Pendlebury really chucking it around that corner in the background there. But yeah, that won't be of too much worry to Sharp. He has got enough time in hand to get to the end of the race. Well, here he is then, Jeff Sharp, in a race where he hasn't really had to do too much passing. He's just kept his nose clean for once and made it all the way through, claims the victory, crosses the line. Pendlebury around 5.8 seconds back will pick up second with Slattery in third. Well, here is our AM leader coming up towards the final turn. Caught up yet again in early lap drama, but he came through, put in an excellent middle stint to get past Brian Dodd in the pit stops, and apparently that is where I exited the session and the replay ends, hence the frozen screen. So let's go to a different camera angle and run through the final race classifications. Well then, let's take a look at the race standings then. Race standings and race results. And the jam-packed AM category there. Chris Palmer in first with Brian Dodd in second. Not even anybody there to claim the third step of the podium. Let's take a look at the pro standings then. Not a huge amount more there either, but Jeff Sharp takes the win, 5.6 seconds ahead of Pendlebury. Dan Slattery rounded out the podium after the run-in with Will Thomas in the last couple of laps. Jamie Nicholson was then in fourth, Steve Moore with a lap down, and Will Thomas retired 2 laps from the end, but will claim 6th place in the classification. Well, let's firstly take a look at the pro points. And yes, I finally managed to get this working in SDK. Dan Slattery leads the way on 341 points with Lord Pendlebury on 273 points. Dan Slattery has won the championship now. No mathematical way in which Pendlebury can catch him. It is, however, all to play for second place in the championship between old adversaries Pendlebury and Sharp. We can now know why Sharp so firmly slammed that door shut in the first race. Jamie Nicholson is then on 220 points with Will Thomas just 2 points back on 218 points. Steve Moore's then in 6th on 157 with James Hurlow 7 points back on 150. It's then Ricky Worrell in 8th, he's on 96 points with Nelson Verdier in 9th on 18 points. Martin Rigby, Mark Audley and Stephen Legotta are all on nil points. Then taking a look at the AM points, and well, he won it long before this point, but Chris Hulse, he is leading the way on 332 points. Chris Palmer's then in second on 242 points. Anthony Marritt's on 231 points, so again, as with the pro category, all to play for that second place. Steve Everson's then on 190 points with Brian Dodd on 162. Josh Levy's then on 123 points with Paul Nicholson just 9 points back on 114. Axel Edwards in 8th on 103 with Josh Morris in 9th on 45. Travis Dorado in 10th on 18. And good old Mickey Dolan, he is in 11th on 10 points. Well, thank you very much for joining us once again. Next week we are... that probably was last night's race. What the fuck are we doing? Yes, it's the GR86s at Spa. So a fantastic, thrilling ride and lots of draft and yeah, that sort of shit. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next time.